This is episode 281 of the Gold Squadron podcast, and I'm your host, Dion Morales. And today, I'm joined by Marcel something, Matias Grumble, stupid bombs, Manzano.
Yeah, hey, wait, can you pause the stream? I gotta go poop.
Will Black Tie Affair Haygood.
How's it going, everybody?
And Ryan, XWing Championship Champion of Michigan, Staniszewski.
That's what it says on my Stein mug right here.
That's right.
/ trophy.
Listen, if it's on a mug, it cannot be contested. It just can't be. It's a fact. As for announcements and news, yes, this weekend there were a ton of events. We had 2 European events. We had an online championship event. We also had a regional level event in Michigan, and we're going to be talking about all of those. Some of them will cover top 8. Some of them will cover top 4. I'll also try to take some peeks and see if we find any other goodies that we can find when it comes to the lists. But the other thing I wanted to bring up is that this weekend we wrapped up the qualifiers for the Galactic Championship. We had 5 of them. Now we are going to be having the Galactic Championship finale October 22nd to the 23rd. This week you will be receiving an email that says, hey, you earned an invite. You are guaranteed a spot. Click here to buy your ticket. Follow these instructions. You do the things, and you will be all set. Now, looking at our numbers, we are going to have about 30-ish open seats because we had a bunch of people who qualified more than once. All right, so that means we had some extra seats. In order to qualify for those open seats, you have to have participated in the Galactic Championship. So I will be sending an email with the instructions for that out to those people who did not qualify, and that will be first come, first serve for the sake of our sanity. And we don't have a system that can do too much there. But before we jump into our main topic for today, our podcast is brought to you by our GSP patrons, the ones that help us get it done. Becoming a patron makes you a part of our largest group of supporters here at GSP. If you want to be a part of it, you can go to patreon.com/Gold Squadron. The upcoming shipment in January will contain 2 sets. Remember, we're doing 2 shipments a year. Each shipment has 2 different sets in it because we're still doing 4 quarters. We're just trying to save money on shipping because shipping prices have gone crazy up here. But we have the heroic set. All right, we have the heroic set. You will end up with 5 pilots, and depending on your level, you get the different plastic cards or paper cards. And for our quarter 1 set, so quarter 4 is heroic. Our quarter 1 set will be our GSP holiday card to you, which will be a set of 3 pilots that will be absolutely amazing. And I have my rough draft of the card right here, but I will show it to Marcel, Will, and Ryan when we're off the air, and they can enjoy my doodling, but it'll be a lot cooler than my doodles, I promise. All right, friends, we had 4 events this weekend. I want to lead off just by talking about attendance for each of these events, because some of these numbers we have to talk about. We got to be realistic about them, and I wanna have that conversation first. But what we do know, if we add it up, we had let's get the old calculator out here. Okay, the old calculator out here. 84 plus 37 plus 80 plus 25. We had 226 people compete in X-Wing events around the world in these 4 larger tournaments this weekend. 84 for Mustafar, 80 for the Spain qualifier, 37 for the UK qualifier, and 25 at the Michigan regional tournament, the Michigan GT. Now, before we got on the air, Marcel, you were having some expressions about you were a little bit worried about, especially that UK number. thoughts? I mean, because when we hit these numbers, it's going to be brought up. It's going to jump in the comments. We're going to talk about it. Let's preemptive strike here a little bit. Let's have the conversation because I think it's important.
Well, for me, the UK one stands out just mostly because they're the ones that were breaking records before the pandemic. They were the ones that were hitting 500 plus players in the tournament. And yeah, I mean, 37 is not even regional in some of these regional events that were happening. And I mean, I knew about the UK qualifier maybe 2-3 months ago, so it wasn't, you know, like some other ones that just popped up. The Spain qualifier actually surprised me because I kind of had the feeling that people in Spain weren't high on XWing right now, but I mean, 80 is still not an amazing number for a qualifier, but it's 80. It's not bad. It's kind of comparable to some of the heats that we were getting here in the States as well. So it's comparable. But 37, I think, for the most part, is for a concentration of X-Wing players. We're talking about England, Ireland, Wales. You know, there's just such a concentration of players that can probably travel a 2-3 hour trip to make it to the event. Even people not in the UK can take a train over or do a quick hop over and get there in a couple hours, especially a plane trip. You can take from Spain, from like France or from one of those places, Denmark or whatever it is. You can get to the UK in shorter trips than it takes us to get to Vegas, us being, you know, from the Midwest. So I don't know. It's sad, I think, for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like, because that was like the brag for a long time, right? The UK events would be like, what was their record? Was it 500?
I think it was like 560.
Over 500.
It was like 560 or something like that. Some crazy number.
Over. Yes.
And I mean, obviously there could be environmental factors, and one of the things that we have been talking about is just like there's people at different points in their life with all the things that have happened over the last couple years, and we have to just kind of wait and see where things land out. I'm almost sure that AMG and Asmodee will look at that number and ask why. Now, I don't know. Do you guys, by any chance, know, was that at like a convention? Was it a standalone event? Was it a community-run thing? Do you guys know by any chance?
I don't know, but I also wonder, I'm curious if this is an X-Wing thing, or if just that region, that part of the world, had lower number turnouts, you know, for other games, you know, whether it's Warhammer or any of the other games that kind of fall in the same space. Maybe even some of the card games like the Magic the Gathering and stuff like that. So, you know, that's something that I don't know. Somebody from over there would probably need to just say, like, yeah, just gaming in general in this area is like down across the board, or is it just strictly an X-Wing thing?
Right. I mean, from the whispers I've seen, people are saying that it's lower everywhere in most games. I have no way to confirm that. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. We don't know, but definitely that 37 is concerning, for sure. But mind you, we did have a bunch of Europeans playing in Mustafar. We had a bunch of Europeans playing in Spain. So maybe we wouldn't be having this conversation if it was one event with 150 people, right? Like, we wouldn't be having the conversation. So, and I mean, this is from through the grapevine. My understanding is like the fact that both of these qualifiers were on the same date. Like, I feel like that's a marketing like mess up. Like, I don't know who made the call to put 2 European events with how relatively easy it is to travel within Europe for these X-Wing events. To put them on the same day is dumb. I mean, I don't think it was a smart idea, personally. That's all me.
And like you said, or like somebody asked, is it if it's tied to a convention or if it's tied to some other event, and they're just just basically handing the reins to somebody else to manage. That's that kind of just falls the way it falls. But it's not a good look.
We'll obviously we weren't specifically in Europe. We don't know all the deets, but that's just as an outsider looking in makes me go, why? But anyway, what we do know is that X-Wing was played this weekend, and I want to take a look at some lists so I can see what list to steal the next time I play a game of X-Wing, because I'm a dirty net lister. Yeah, I am. All right, so let's go ahead and let's start with the Michigan GT so we can give some props to our boy, the champion of Michigan, Ryan Staniszewski. Hype, 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 hype. All righty. So, Ryan, give us so this event had I think it was 25 players ended up showing up, and what was like the format and things so people can understand going into it?
So it was also a maximum of 32 they had allotted. And what I'm seeing in the chat, people talking about the London GT. I wonder if, maybe not the same company, but if there was limited space as well, that it wasn't unlimited and could do hundreds for the X-Wing. And because as far as I'm aware, the Michigan GT is much more focused on the wargaming, larger table stuff, terrain based and everything. So, hosting Michigan, the GT for X-Wing, they at least we had a cap.
Okay, yeah.
Our TO decided they wanted to run extended, but keeping the ban list. Turns out not a lot of actual extended stuff showed up because most of the standard stuff is just better right now. Some people want to try out some of the extended stuff, which they did. But I stuck with a completely standard list. I think most of the top cut had completely standard pilots as well.
All right. So, well, I want to go ahead. I want to start with you because what we're going to do, we're going to hit the top 4, and let's start with your list as a champion. Let us know what you played.
So I went with a resistance list. I was going with at least a baseline of Finn in the resistance pod with heroic elusive percentive co-pilot, Wilsa Teshlo with ion cannon turret L4ER5, bomblet generator, engine upgrade, targeting computer, Kai Threnali, expert handling, ion cannon turret, proton bombs, engine upgrade, targeting computer. And then I went with Kaz with R2-D2 astromech, shield upgrade, and Kaz's fireball, because I chose for my 7-point ship when I was tossing around between Trigger Happy Poe or what I went with Chewie in the Falcon with Notorious, Marksmanship, Ray, Gunner, False Transponder Codes, and Ray's Millennium Falcon. The Marksmanship was just the 1 point I had left over, and sometimes it may have done something. The one game I actually lined up a bullseye for a couple shots with Chewie was against Grievous, and I did not want a marksmanship, so I didn't want to use trigger that impervium plating anyway. I ended up playing, it was because the amount of players, we did 4 rounds of Swiss, cut to top 8. Obviously I won, so list good. Would I change or adjust? I probably didn't even play super optimally on everything across the board. I think the thing that I've learned the most about in this one is Kaz has many other options besides just slap Notorious on him and then the normal like R1J5, advanced slam, pick your illicit, and targeting computer, right? As we'll see in other stuff, I think one Mr. Paul Heaver has another very specific Kaz that performed really well. This R2-D2 shield upgrade, I mean, if you want to, I don't know if you can pull up the R2-D2 card itself, but I think it's worth going over because a lot of people aren't too familiar with it. I think it may have been brought up in a recent GSP event when someone did run the same Kaz. But a couple of interactions I noticed with it is
And which R2D2 is this?
R2D2 Resistance Astromech, 6 points, 4 charges.
Okay.
None of them recur.
Give me half a second, and you will have it.
While you're getting that, Chewie, since I had a lot of experience with Poe and then trying out this Chewie, I think you can't go wrong either way. Chewie brings his own different stuff. That second attack, plus Notorious, so many people are hesitant about not even killing your ships. But like, oddly enough, I missed the opportunity to do it. But we noticed that there was a game where someone bombed one of my ships and killed it with the bomb. Chewie could have attacked in that system phase when no one had tokens. So in this like prox mining, FO bomber heavy, or at least really highly competitive list, whether or not it's taken in a high quantity is a different story. Chewie has a very interesting play in that where he can take an action and then attack in the system phase or even in activation depending on how things go. But for R2D2, so its first clause, during the end phase you may spend 1 charge and 1 of your shield to remove 1 red token. And in the second sentence, during the end phase, if you have no shield active, you may spend 2 charges to recover 1 shield and gain deplete token. So baseline, so with 4 charges, you can essentially regen your shield twice in a game. That baseline, pretty good. And only taking a deplete too. Kaz might just leave. He doesn't have to do a blue, but he could still do a blue, clear the deplete, and that shield was pretty free. One interesting wrinkle I found is because you have Kaz's Fireball, you could pick Disabled Power Regulator and say spend 3 charges to remove a shield, get rid of a red token, with the first sentence. And the second sentence, do it in the exact same end phase, get the shield back by spending 2 charges to take a deplete. So essentially using 3 of those charges to swap your Ion for a deplete, which I think I used once. I didn't want to be Ion the next turn.
You're like, nah, I'm good.
And I still had my shield. So
right.
I ended up just spending 3 charges to trade that Ion for a deplete, and it was well worth it.
It's interesting that you took the Ion upgrade. I could see actually reaching for direct hit. So wouldn't the hit from direct hit ping your shield off of you when you slam?
I hadn't thought of that. So if you do the direct, you're gonna flip it, but it doesn't tell you to. It doesn't tell you to take a damage. It tells you to get dealt a card, doesn't it?
Nope. It says
suffer
1 damage.
Could do that one, yeah.
That's
weird. Things off your shield, and then at the end of the phase, you just get your shield back.
Yeah, that's another option. So, this is just, because we don't see a lot of R2D2 because most of the shields in Resistance are in 3s, right? T-70, 3. The Falcon, 3. Can't even take Astromech anyway, but even if you could, 3. Y-Wings, 3. Kaz, because he can take shield upgrade, and R2 is the single shield ship that has pretty good uses for it, with all the flipping of those damage cards to get rid of your disarm, but then R2D2 kind of mitigates them there. So, also Finn is ridiculous, and I think in Resistance, you have Finn in your list no matter what. One of 2 ways.
It's a big deal.
Finn Pilot, or Finn Gunner, right? If you're bringing Rey, you can't take Finn Pilot. But if you're not bringing Rey, you should have Finn Pilot. That is still such an annoyance of a 3-point ship with Perceptive Co-Pilot, Heroic. And I think there's a choice. You can do Elusive, you can do Expert Handling, you can do Predator. Elusive makes him ridiculously annoying. I don't know if he makes him too annoying and then people won't shoot him, because I kind of want people to shoot him. Turns out people still shot him because he might have been the only shot, and they just get sad every time when they don't really do damage, and he shoots back really, really hard. I think Wilsa might be one of the other 3-point ships in the Resistance that might be the closest thing to an auto include. Because Resistance Y-Wings are really good. I think Wilson's the best one because you can pass calculates at the start of engagement with L for ER5.
Larry.
Larry, Lars, Layer, whatever. Yeah, and Chewie, like I said, his ability is a very real ability, and Falcon with boost is still really good. Ray Gunner is very, very good. So yeah, that is my list. Worked really well. Felt comfortable in a lot of matches. My final though is against. If you want someone to go over it, but I will say what happened in the final because it was very, very crazy.
So the final would have been against the second place player. I'm assuming here, Christopher Tanner. Take it, Marcel.
Take it where? To the next tournament?
To the moon.
Ooh. Which moon? Which planet?
The moon of Jupiter. The first one.
We're in the Star Wars universe. You're bad at this. All right. So we got Christopher Tanner flying Separatist Alliance with Jango Fett in the fire spray. Notorious, Savage, Oppress, Proximity Mines, False Transponder Codes, Contraband Cybernetics, and Veteran Tail Gunner with the Slave 1 title. A regular Grievous with Outmaneuver and Toys. Bombardment Drone, Proximity Mines, Independent Calculations. DFS 081 Vulture class droid fighter with Discord missiles, independent calculations, and Separatist drone, Discord missiles, and grappling struts. Isn't there another 2-pointer that could be? Is it just the initiative that they wanted with the Separatist drone?
It's the same initiative as the other droids and could still take Discord missiles.
Okay. So so it's a 5-ship list with 2 very good heavy hitters and 1 situationally very good ship. So the bombardment drone can be like a complete monster or a complete dud, but either way, he's you can't ignore him.
And that was the ship that I alluded to that dropped a proximity mine on one of my Y-Wings and killed it in a turn. But because it was like 9:30, 10 p.m. at night, because we did the 4 rounds of Swiss and the cut in the same day, my brain forgot Chewie could just isn't restricted to only the engagement phase. when friend die, get angry. So it was a pretty crazy game. The start wasn't too far off. It was chance engagement. I kind of tried to occupy Jango with Finn for as long as possible and Wilsa. I ended up popping some droids pretty early, actually, with combined fire from Chewie, Kaz, and Kai. I think my first ship that went down was Wilsa to that prox mine. I cut Chewie back down to deal with Jango. But towards the end, it was getting tight. There were lots of like lead changes. I held a lead for like the last couple turns until we tied for 2 straight turns and ended the game 19-19. Funny thing was in the beginning, before that, since it was so late and we wanted to go home, I'm like, do we want to just road roll and then just go home? And I left it up to him because I didn't care. He's like, "Oh, we can play for it." I'm like, "All right, let's play for it." We played the entire game, 19-19, and we had to road roll anyway. The last turn, we each got one objective point, and he got the last 2 points off of Finn, who was half health already, so he got 2. Once he killed Finn, Chewie did like a big boost in, look at Grievous with 3 health left. Grievous had no mods because he was shooting an arc, and I had to do 2 shots into Grievous to get half on Grievous to also get 2 to tie it, while Grievous could not natty 3 hits into me unmodded because Chewie had a strain with 3 health remaining. We could have just died also to Grievous. So it was pretty crazy. We both kind of just looked at each other like, really? We got through all of this at a 19-19 tie. We're just going to road roll anyway.
It was meant to be. It was meant to be.
It was foretold. We knew. We didn't know.
All right, so congratulations, Christopher Tanner. Very cool list. I think very similar to something that we're going to end up seeing at Mustafar, but let's keep it going here. Our third place player, Matt Zimmer. Take a look, Will.
All right, Matt Zimmer is flying the Rebel Alliance, has Alexander Callis with Predator, Fire Control System, Dorsal, Magva Yarrow, and Veteran Turret Gunner. Han Solo, Trickshot, Novice, Technician, Chopper, Ezra, Gunner, Engine Upgrade, Falcon, and Ahsoka Tano in the A-Wing with Predictive Shot, Extreme Maneuvers, Predator, and Mag Pulse Warheads. So this is another instance of a ghost out there, and this one utilizing the Veteran Turret Gunner for those follow-up dorsal turret attacks. No Janors, so sad no U-Cannon on this one. But the tankiness of that ghost when you're out there reinforcing, you do have a coordinate from Ahsoka if need be, so you can come into like combat with target lock and a reinforce. Of course, Magva Yarrow could get you a target lock if they do a damage to Callus while attacking him. So could be just self-reliant out there, using fire control system and that crew member. But I mean, we don't see too many Hans around, but Han Solo still very, very good. This one has the force point through Ezra and trick shot, and could even do Ezra's double attack. You just have to spend his force charge to shoot out to the other arc. Then if you're stressed, you get a reroll.
Can I say, yeah, that's it. Can I say, like, Han in the Falcon is one of those ships or pilots that I feel like so few people play, but whenever I see it across the table, I go, like, because it's good. It's just good. It's not like in fashion. It's not the sexy ship to play, but when it's out there, you know that it's good. Like Han is good. Always has been. Turns out. Always has been.
Yeah, still just as slippery as ever with that high initiative, big base boost. Plus, you could. I think Ahsoka must be doing a lot of interesting tricks in this list, doing things like coordinating Han, coordinating Callus, even while stressed. I think that could. Plus Asen out there with them as well. With that extreme maneuvers. Being able to target lock and then hard turn boost really could get them into some tricky situations.
I like that Magpulse warhead call for salvage. Guaranteed crit. Yeah. You just need to pop it off. You got it there. All right, and to wrap up our top four, we got Zachriggity, one of our boys out of Michigan. I believe he's part of the Brew Squadron, right? He brought Boba Fett. Where? Boba Fett with Fearless, Proximity Mines, Marauder title, Maul, and Veteran Tail Gunner. Pretty classic build out there for Maul Fire Spray. You got a modification out the front with Fearless when you're jousting people. You got Proximity Mines for when they're sitting behind, and of course Veteran Tail Gunner. Boba's going to be in the mix. You have shots out the front and the back. Pretty solid. Manaru then in that Jumpmaster 5000 has Notorious, Gar Saxon, over 2 modulators, Punishing 1, and R5P8. Notorious, we know that her ability to pass tokens around is very good. You have a lot of flexibility there. The loadout, allowing you to take Punishing 1, makes it so that you definitely want to take Manaru out, but you can get punished with Notorious, giving her that that modification. And then on top of that, let's go ahead and take a second and talk about Gar Saxon. That's Gar Saxon Gunner, right?
Yep.
I'm assuming.
Saw that in the last GSP event where Crispy won with a scum list that he featured this exact same Manaru. Week after, I was like, hey, more Gar-Saxon gunners should show up in the meta.
There it is. And Gar-Saxon, for those of you who don't remember how that card is worded, while you perform a target lock action, you can only choose an object in the front arc or the back arc. And while you perform a primary attack, if the defender is in your front or back arc, you may remove one orange or red token from the defender to roll an additional die to a maximum of 4. Maybe something like Notorious. Maybe. Right? Seems good. Or just, stress tokens as well. Different flexibility, especially now. People stressing and straining themselves is a common thing. If you can use those tokens in multiple ways, seems good. Over 2 modulators, very common as well, right? It's another just like, oh, look at these tokens that I can use as well. To round out the list, we had Gomet Key in that Hawk 290 light freighter, allowing probably Boba Fett to end up carrying mods over from turn to turn. But of course, having that that flexibility is great. Has elusive and protectorate Gleb out there for some coordinates, so some fully modified shots. And to finish out the list, we had Leighton Ashara in the M3A with Deadeye shot and ion cannon. Really, you're there for the ion cannon, and if you shoot Leighton and miss, is very good at taking multiple shots because of her ability being able to give her an evade. So
also note, Leighton and Manru are the same initiative. So Leighton can put an ion token on someone, which can trigger Gar-Saxon if you don't care about that ship being ion moved, or if it's not even ion yet, single ion token on a medium or large base. And I'll just use it for another dice.
Yep. Or just being able to be like, yeah, they're gonna go one forward anyway. Like, why would I just not let this be consequential? Seems pretty solid. All right, well, that's the top 4 there for the Michigan GT. Ryan, any weird list, anything out there? I just kind of want to take a quick scroll, but do you remember anything that you saw where you're like, that's a choice that you made, and I'm surprised by it?
I'm going to say, so actually, I'm going to highlight, I've seen this plenty of times because he's local to me, but I know other people looking at it will be like, I see some stuff, but maybe not everything there. Alex Merrill, he was the only person to beat me the whole weekend. At a Republic list, 5 ship. Some of the well-known hitters were there. We have Hound with Yoda, 7th Fleet, Agile Gunner. We have Obi-Wan, Marksmanship, R2-D2, Calibrated Laser Targeting, and Synchronized Council. That'll be a little bit of a reoccurring theme here. We have Contrail, dedicated R3 Synchronized Besh Prox Mines. Then we have Oddball in the Y-Wing with Belly Run, Proton Torps, R4 Synchronized Council. And then Warthog in the Clone Z95 with Prockets, dedicated Synchronized Council. So one thing Alex has done really, really well with this list is maximizing that Synchronized Council usage. And not in a gimmicky way. It is a very dangerous thing that, between Obi-Wan shooting and Contrail shooting before Oddball, Oddball is going to get his Proton Torpedo in some capacity. He's been able to use Contrail in his games to flex him out wide when he needs to. He says, if you're going to chase this 3-point ship, okay, but he's going to help Oddball get his locks he needs to. Because Contrail's got R3, he just needs to shoot someone, not care about the shot. I'm not going to use the mod, because this Oddball shot's going to be even worse. And that's if Oddball needs help, right, with that.
Mm-hmm.
But, a lot of times you see Synchronized Council, and you're like, well, with chaff around other things, it gets a little gimmicky. It's more insurance policy at this point for him that he's maximized to be able to make it as effective as possible. And don't sleep on that Warthog. I've used another Republic list. You're not going to initiative kill him because you can't. So if he wants to hold on to that focus to shoot you with the Procket, he's going to hold it the whole time and say, I'm going to get you. You can't stop me.
All right. Well, let's go ahead. Let's now slide over to the UK qualifier event, the London GT. All right. We're going to just kind of finagle this over just a little bit, make sure things can be seen. Let's go ahead and hit the top 4 here as well. We're going to go ahead and Let's see. Go by cut, and it looks like, there we go. We have our top 4 right there. And Marcel, go ahead, take the champion. Whose name is Tim Groggenberg, flying the Republic.
So he's got another Republic list with Hound. He went with Satine Kreese, Corky Kriz, and 7th Fleet Gunner. That's a really good loadout. You missed Agile Gunner a little bit, but Satine, just the amount of mods that it can hand out every other turn is just crazy. He's got Contrail with Crackshot, R4, P44, Alpha, Besh, and Proximity Mines. R4, P44, if I'm not mistaken, that's the pattern analyzer type.
No, that's R4P17. This one is after fully executing red move, if you have enemy in bullseye, gain it calculate.
Gotcha, okay. And then he's got Oddball with Crackshot, 7th Fleet Gunner, R7A7, and Synchronized Console. I'm guessing that's Y-Wing Oddball, if he's got 7th Fleet Gunner on it.
Yeah. Maybe.
That should be, unless there's one more point available in the list that we're not accounting for, then that could be ARC 170 Oddball.
Okay, so that's an Oddball with 7th Fleet Gunner.
I can find out for us. Keep going.
And yeah, we'll click with proton bombs, dedicated proton bombs, and then Mace Windu with foresight, compassion, and calibrated laser targeting. So with 2 7th Fleet Gunners out there, just makes Contrail click and Mace just hit pretty hard. I mean, it makes them 3-dice guns or even 4-die gun in Mace Windu's case. So
that's actually doing the math. That is ARC 170 Oddball.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Hound 5, Oddball 5, Click 3, Contrail 3, Mace 4.
Can you double up on 7 Fleet Gunners? You can proc 2 at once, can't you?
If it's a 2-die shot that you want to make 4, but 4 dice is always the max.
With the maximum 4.
Yeah, so
okay.
you can take, actually, if you think about it, then you can turn Mace Bullseye Shot into a 5-dice shot.
At range 2 instead of only range 1, that is correct.
Yeah, so at range 2, you can say, well, I'm going to double 7th Fleet and shoot 4 dice and add focus result at range 2 or 3.
Yeah. All ranges that bullseye is really dangerous, and Click could lock Mace and still make it not give the enemy a range 3 bonus too.
Oh, that's dirty.
Oh, that is a range 3 5-die attack without range bonus.
Without range 3 bonus. That's actually pretty crazy. That's cool.
Yeah, that's a lot of that's a lot of firepower from. Oh, I'm gonna hang out here at range 3. I'm in a good spot.
I'll be safe. I'll just barrel roll. We'll be fine.
No, you done messed up.
Mace just sitting there like, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's definitely a solid list. I think it's a list that probably it probably doesn't stand the test of time in a longer, bigger tournament unless you get. It's a list that I think requires either a lot of luck and a lot of precision flying plus, actually a lot of precision flying plus a little bit of luck, get the matchups correctly and stuff like that. But I may be wrong. I mean, yeah, just eyeballing it, I can see a number of lists that might give it. You know, for example, the Vader plus 5 TIE fighters. I can see it struggling against something like that.
All right, well let's keep it rolling here, and Will, with in second place we have a pilot I would not have expected to see on a top table.
Yeah, this is Demetrius. He is flying a Scum Gauntlet. This is Maul. That is is he also 9 points these days? He is in that most expensive, elusive category of ships. 11 health, 3 force, 2 agility. I can understand why he might be that way. but it has marksmanship, Fenral, crew to remove those stress. Super Commandos, so that must be Fenral Gunner. We got so many people on board this ship. Oh, because he normally gets. Oh, I'm gonna have to pull this up in the builder because he has way too many
so if you
people on here.
have-
This is a party bus.
Yeah, there's a lot of crew on here because not only do you have Drop Seat Bay that gives you 2 for a mod slot, you have Night Brother that gives you
the
another
Night
one
Brother.
free, so
Yes.
4 crew on this ship.
4 crew and a gunner. Wow. Okay. So those crew are Fenral, Super Commandos, and Cad Bane, and then Greedo Gunner. Cad Bane gives Maul a boost when they drop the Super Commandos. Super Commandos are technically a device, so you can red boost.
I was wondering. I was like, "There's no bombs on here. Why would you bring that?"
Oh,
there it is.
That's a spicy system phase boost from a large base that could get you off guard. Plus, then the stress doesn't matter too much because you got Contraband as well, plus Drop Seat Bay, as we talked about, and then Night Brother that can get you an Evader Focus if you choose to keep your stress while you do that shenanigans. But could be, could get in and out of combat very quickly there. Just full party. The Fenral as well could help you mitigate your stress. If you boost into range 1, you can activate and remove that stress token for your movement the following round. We have very similar then as Manaru, as we saw before, Notorious, Gar-Saxon, Contraband, Cybernetics is the 3-point enlisted of choice, Punishing 1, and R5P8. A great ship, point for point at 5 total points there. 9 health, can mod, attack dice, many different ways. Such a valuable piece. A little bit, what do I want to say? The only downside with Manaru is the maneuverability. Jump Master's kind of got an asymmetric dial, plus it's a large base. But man, your gun and health are online. And then speaking of guns and health, Q9 and the Razor Crest follows it up with Landau Calrissian IG-88D crew, a heavy laser cannon, BT-1 gunner, Contraband Cybernetics, and then the Razor Crest, which would allow another illicit, probably false transponder codes if you're taking Contraband as in your public information slot. But could be some other things, I guess. Cargo chute. Hey, I have a couple of options there. But this combination between IGD and Landau Calrissian on Q9, whenever Q9 does these advanced maneuvers, whether it's a stop or K-turn, you can take a strain to do a calculate action. That action would give you 2 calculates from IGD, and then Landau Calrissian crew allows you to spend a green token to reroll up to 2 of your dice. So you get a lot of modification out of these extra tokens you would be receiving. Plus, you can shoot that 4-dice heavy laser cannon if you can line it up. Each one of these ships just screams double modification. Maul's probably out there taking target locks. Manaru's doing the same thing with R5, P8, and Q9, doing something similar with IG-88D crew. Sounds like a nightmare, to be honest with you. Plus, you got the commandos to help out with your red dice each round as well. Could be a nightmare. I really like the combination of Super Commandos and Notorious as well. So you can get those extra strain out there to allow Manaru to modify, get some rerolls. A very cool list.
You might be muted, Dion.
Wrecked
Chat
every
saying
time.
mute.
All right. So our top 4 competitor, Ty Harris here, and actually both players ended up playing Resistance. We start here with Poe Dameron. Which one, Dion? We're playing with the Trigger Happy Flyboy, Poe Dameron there. We got Heroic, Ferrosphere Paint, Overdrive Thrusters, R4 Astromech, Proton Torpedo, Black 1, Munitions Failsafe. I think that's a pretty standard Poe for the Trigger Happy Flyboy. You have the Overdrive Thruster, so you have double actions every turn. You can end up getting a lot of maneuverability. Though, you have to make sure that you actually get those Proton Torpedoes off, especially paying that extra point for the Trigger Happy Poe Dameron. So, obviously very good build on Poe, and when I fly Trigger Happy Flyboy, this is the version that I am flying. You just got to make sure you get those Proton Torpedoes off. Then we have Resistance Pod Finn, Elusive, Heroic, Perceptive Co-Pilot. Finn, we've talked about him many times, an absolute heartbreaker and a very good ship in the Resistance. You got to have him. Kaz in the Fireball. I feel like Kaz is becoming a staple in Resistance lists as well as Finn. It's Finn, Kaz, other stuff. Did you bring other stuff? Do you have space for a Wilsa? Basically, this Fireball has got notorious R6D8. What's R6D8, Dion? I'm glad you asked. This is a resistance-only droid. While you perform an attack, you may re-roll a number of attack dice up to the number of friendly ships at range 0 to 3 that the defender that have the defender in their bullseye. So it's Predator, but you got to check your buddies, right? So that is that droid. So giving Kaz some rerolls there. Has the advanced slam, the cloaking device, to be a sneaky objective person when it comes to assault of the satellite array or trying to get across the board during scramble, or even trying to get to a crate during salvage. Obviously, you cannot be cloaked while doing that. And then wrapping it up with a couple of Y-Wings, Shasa Zaro and Wilsa Teshlo. Wilsa with R435 Larry. That's pretty much been the staple for Wilsa, having those droids. And the question basically usually ends up being, what bomb are you taking? We have ion cannon turret, bomb generator, targeting computer, and engine upgrade on Wilsa. For Shasa, we got prox mines, dorsal turret, marksmanship, engine upgrade, targeting computer. Very good list. Very safe. Choosing to go with the Trigger Happy Flyboy Poe gives you a little bit less flexibility in what else you can bring with the squad, because you have one less point to work with, but obviously worked very well for Ty. And Ryan finishes up here with the other top 4 competitor, Oliver Pocknell.
Yes, we got Oliver Pocknell running Trigger Happy Poe. This one with Trick Shot, R4 Proton Torpedo, Overdrive Thrusters, Electronic Baffle, Black 1, Jamming Beam, and S-Foils. We have Ray, Shattering Shot, Trick Shot, Rose, Finn, Ray's Millennium Falcon. Wilsa with Ion Cannon, Proton Bomb, Engine Upgrade, Targeting Computer. No Larry this one. None at all. And
Wow.
then BB-8 with Ferrosphere, Targeting Computer. So Oliver going with as heavy damage as possible per shot with the Trick Shot Poe with Proton Torpedoes, and the Ray Shattering Shot Trick Shot going for saying, I'm going to put some obstacles between myself and you are going to pay for it. Poe with his ability for Overdrive Thrusters can make that happen maybe a little bit easier than Ray, although Ray's a large base. So sometimes it can be easier, sometimes it can be more difficult, depending on what you're bringing and what your opponent has in terms of obstacle selection. I'd be curious how much the Proton Bomb was worth it on Wilsa versus the Bomblet Generator and Larry, because I know there's a point left over on there in that Wilsa. Since there's nothing else different besides the swap and bomb and droid that Wilson normally sees. The BB-8, Pharaoh's for your targeting computer, saying if you are going to target my ship, better not be with a target lock, otherwise you're going to get stressed unless you have a bullseye on me. But I also have targeting computer, so if you're not looking at me, I might be a little.
All right. So that was our top 4 for the London GT. Congratulations to all the players, and of course, congratulations to Tim for getting that dub, walking away the champion. Next, we're going to go ahead and jump to the Spain qualifier. This one was on tabletop.to. Unfortunately, apparently, in España, half the players don't know how to put in their list.
You got the ESP at the bottom, though. You can just.
I mean, yeah, but how about just make it not look like garbage? In my opinion, as a TO, how about that? How about you paste it in the right spot so it doesn't look like poop? But anyway, all the love. I got to rag on them a little bit. Come on. What would you prefer? A, thank you, or B, come on. All right. Anyway, I'm complaining for no reason. Obviously, thank you guys for putting in your list so we could talk about them. All right, well, let's go ahead. Let's start with the champion, Luis Lozano.
Luis Lozano. So he flew a Republic squad with OV1 on the Delta 7 with elusive R2D2 calibrated laser targeting contrail. Contrail with crack shot, R4, alpha bash, and proximity mines. Mace Windu with heightened perception, compassion, R7A7, which, let me see what R7A, while you perform an attack, you may spend, okay, so it's the crit droid. Then click with proximity mines, R4, and alpha bash. And then Hound with Satine Kreese, Ghost Company, and 7th Fleet Gunner. So didn't go with Corky Kreese. He went with Ghost Company, which says after you perform a primary attack, if you are focused, you may perform an attack against the ship you have not attacked this round as a bonus attack. Which is an interesting choice with a ship that has 7th Fleet Gunner and you're disarming yourself. So it's an interesting choice, probably suboptimal choice if you're combining both of those speeds because they can cancel each other out. Stop playing with the camera. And yeah, I mean, it's a really good. So it's got 2 Deltas, 2 Dingus Class B wings, and a Hound. So.
All right, yeah. I believe at Crate Cup, we saw a player, I think it was Noah Frenapful, who ran a very similar build, 7th Fleet and Ghost Company on Hound. And it showed some legs, but the difference was that they had a Perceptive co-pilot instead of Satine. So I mean, maybe that could be the. I don't know. It's an interesting thought. Obviously, it worked out, right, to be able to get the championship. So
yeah,
Luis,
and it's not a small tournament either. I mean, it's 80 people.
Mm-hmm. Let's keep it going. So we had Adani Abril. By the way, we're going to be going through that top 8. Let's go ahead, scoop out this URL, and see what we got here. Take it, Will.
All right. So, let me do that myself here too. I cannot decipher these texts. Okay. This is an Imperial list with Darth Vader Defender, utilizing classic loadout here. Malice, Juke, Heavy Laser Cannon. You get that free evade from Full Throttle. Combines great with Juke. Vader can only spend his force on offense. that combines with Malice perfectly to get some extra crits, unless you're shooting that heavy laser cannon. Vader basically sets down 4 hits every time he attacks. Pretty ridiculous. Maybe not as ridiculous though as this TIE mini swarm. It is 5 of them, which is Iden with elusive ion cannon. She can prevent other TIE fighters from taking damage once per game. Those other TIE fighters are Jingo Jingo Wampa, and they are utilizing the contraband cybernetics. Wampa has elusive, and then the last 2-pointer is Valen Rudor with marksmanship. So take it all 4 named 2-point TIE fighters plus Iden gives you just enough room to put in that 9-point defender. I saw this similar list archetype flown by Andrew in Gen Con, and this list terrifies me. No thank you. I do not want to see this across the table. That gives you 2 very clear options. Would you like to shoot TIE fighters, or would you like to shoot focus evaded I-6 defender? And neither one's really a great option, unfortunately.
All right, then we continue here. Ander Lopez, not to be confused with Andor Lopez. I'm enjoying that series, by the way. It's good stuff. Good stuff. We should probably talk about it at some point. Are you ready to talk about it, Will, or are you not ready yet?
I'll watch episode 4 tonight.
Okay, thank you,
That way
sir.
we could talk about it.
All right. So he brought a resistance list. We talked about Poe Dameron earlier, and it is literally the same exact loadout with that trigger-happy flyboy. We have Shasa and Wilsa. The different choices here, Sasha has proton bombs. Wilsa, no Larry droid, but has cluster mines there. So going for that that extra reach on the cluster mines. And we're finishing out the list with Lega adding an additional Y-Wing for 4 points. Electro chaff missiles, watch out for the chaff. BB-8 for some pre-positioning, some system phase shenanigans with the newest errata. Very, very good engine upgrade. Tirfon belly run as well. And then Finn with heroic predator and perceptive co-pilot. Overall, this is a lot of what we are seeing. I mean, the resistance salad, right? Or resistance efficiency. I'm not sure what the exact archetype is, but essentially it's like take Poe or Rey or Chewie and fill in the rest, and you're probably going to be okay. You're probably going to be okay.
I think the right definition for, or the right title would be both for the Resistance and for the Empire. Is you're either flying Resistance 24 points or Empire 24 points. Because, I mean, that's really what they are. They're just more value than what any other faction gets for the same thing. And whether it's the Y-Wings or the TIE fighters that are getting spammed at 2 or 3 points, it's just kind of ridiculous because there's other, you have to do way more with other factions to get the same value out of your ships, and it's just they're way undercosted. So I would say most Resistance and Empire lists that are winning right now should probably be 23, 24 points.
Yeah, but I mean, had we even seen Resistance before those Y-Wings came out? Like, they were struggling to figure out loadouts until those Y-Wings.
I mean, you can even look at Nova with a couple of the lists. Well,
there was a bunch of it was Resistance and Nova and Gen Con. They came out in force. Those Y-Wings.
You had the undefeated one at Gen Con, and then you also had Duncan at Nova flying Poe, Rey, and +1. I think it was Covenel.
I think it was 2 Y-Wings. Oh yeah, he had Kova now.
Yeah,
That's
just
true.
Kova,
That's a non-Y-wing
Rainbow.
list.
Yeah, I mean, and one of them went undefeated in Swiss at Gen Con. The other one, Duncan made top 4 with. So there's options. But definitely those Y-wings are the ones that are pushing Resistance over, just the same as the TIE fighters are pushing the Empire over. Because all these Rear Admiral and the Vader +5, I mean, they're not the same list without those cheap 2-pointers.
Right. I mean, I think the simplest solution is just to split wartime loadout and intuitive control Y-wings into 2 different pilot cards, just like they did with the 7B. So that way they don't have this like ridiculous amount of loadout to pay the 10 points for wartime. Could be an easy solution, but
yeah, that could be a way to do it.
They got a lot of levers to pull, fortunately. So we'll see which way they take.
Yeah, and your camera is weird.
I'm having an issue with my leg, so I'm sitting on the floor. Yeah. I can't push the camera lower right now. So I'm just ahead, mostly. Alrighty. Well, let's keep it going. We have Sergio Sanchez. Take it, Ryan.
Sergio going with an Empire list, starting with 2 Jingoists, both with Deadman Switch. We got Vizier in the TIE Reaper with Emperor Palpatine. Those are sort of the 3 common things in the list. We've seen in Empire stuff in the past. We got Captain Faroff in here, but not with Seventh Sister, opting for Crackshot, Targeting Computer, and Hondo Crew. Then you have Rear Admiral Shiranu with Disciplined ISB Slicers, Vader Crew, Agile Gunner, and Gar Saxon Crew. So Imperial Gar Saxon. We don't see a ton of that, but it's while a friendly ship at range 1 to 3 with an initiative 4 or lower performs an attack against the defender, you have locked. The attacker may change 1 eyeball to a hit result. So everyone else here right now in this list is I4 or lower. So once Shiranu takes a target lock, so long as he keeps it after he shoots, everyone else will be able to take advantage of that soft eyeball to hit focus conversion. Basically like giving every one of his friendly ships at range 1 to 3 a calculate that can only be used on offense.
Well, I find that call interesting because I feel like with Shiranu, most of the time when I've flown Shiranu, you're reinforcing or you're target locking for offense. If you have another way to get reinforced. So, I mean, I just find it an interesting play.
You do have 2 Reapers who can both coordinate.
True.
And Hondo on one of them who lets that Reaper coordinate at range 3 as well. So there are ways to get Shiranu a lot of actions, actually. Now, whether or not... I'd be curious to see how many... how often this list went up against FTCs or chaffs or jamming in general. Because that's the one thing, is that Gar Saxon crew, to me, so easily gets broken by a lot of that stuff. It just, like, there goes that card if you just say you don't get to lock. For whatever reason. Ferrosphere even. Your sensor scramblers on the Whispers or Silencers. So there's a lot of anti-lock tech right now. So anything that is lock-based additional offense, for me, is a little lower on the totem pole. That's why looking at all the pose with Proton Torpedo, I look at it and say, that might need to be outmaneuvered. But still did well, obviously.
That's right. Let's keep it going. Marcel, we have Juanjo Garcia Roche.
I think he's number 5, but okay. Is he number 4?
Number 5. We're doing top 8 for this one.
Okay, gotcha. Let me open it up on Yasby because I did not get that far. I think we were doing top 4. So we've got Jorge flying Delta 7 Obi-Wan with elusive calibrated R2. Click. Wilhoff in the Nimbus class B-Wings, Hound with Satine and Corky this time, instead of Ghost Company 7th Fleet Gunner. Went with, actually, this is an interesting one. So Wilhoff Tarkin with Elusive R4 Astromech and Electroshaft missiles. I didn't even know you can get an Electroshaft on a V-Wing.
He has a natural missile slot.
That is actually very cool. Did not know that. And he's only 3 points. That might actually be.
I think the only other person who can chaff in Republic is the Gauntlet.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually really interesting. I'm wondering. This sounds like a better buy than Contrail in a lot of these Duncan-esque lists.
Well, I think people like the Initiative 5. I think it's usually what they're going for there.
The Initiative 5 is good, but just the shaft cloud just makes you fly a completely different game. It disrupts your entire game. It's just so valuable right now. And Mace Windu with heightened perceptions, R4 P17, and calibrated laser targeting. R4 P17 is that one is the pattern analyzer droid, or double contraband droid, whatever you want to call it. Take an action after performing a red maneuver. And I mean, it's different variations of the exact same list. In both situations that we've seen today, Obi and Mace Windu above Anakin. So kind of going more for the additional agility, a bunch of 3 agility spam that has the potential to put out a lot of damage. I like this list a lot, actually. The more it's very interesting list, and the fact that you can get Mace Windu with a 7th Fleet Gunner plus rerolls from Hound at Initiative 7 to potentially Initiative kill, even an Initiative
and Anakin.
6. Yeah, an Anakin or a Poe or a Wedge or whatever. Even if it's not Initiative kill, you're gonna die this turn. You're at 1 hull. Get your shot off. Get it off early. So it's a good list. I like this one a lot, actually.
All right. The next list is the last one I want to fully break down because 7 and 8, we'll give them a shout out, but they have similar lists to what we've talked about already. We'll go ahead and hit up Daniel Azueta Curto's list.
Okay. This is a rebel list that includes Luke Skywalker, Titan Perception, Elusive, Proton, Chopper Crew, and the spare parts, or Chopper Crew, Chopper Astromech, and spare parts canisters. So you can actually utilize Chopper to get a 3rd torpedo if you want, or even utilize, I believe, spare parts would count for that to get a shield back if necessary. Then, let's see here. We got Fen Rao and the Sheathipede. Has Swarm Tactics, get another pilot up to 6. Tristan Wren to add a crit modification to any munition, and R4 because of Fen Rao's ability to stress himself to deny token use. We got Dutch Vander, probably just hugging right next to Fen Rao. With ion cannon turret, Magpulse warheads, and R3 Astromech for the double locks. Great candidate for Fen Rao to coordinate because Dutch would effectively coordinate a 2nd ship as well. We got Aaron Kraken with Elusive and Plasma Torpedoes, and Arvel with Crackshot and Elusive. So there's a lot of ways to get extra actions here between Dutch Vander, Fen Rao, and Aaron Kraken. Plus the combinations of Plasma Torps and then hitting them with a Magpulse warhead and a double critting Proton Torpedo could absolutely just alpha strike a single ship off the board very easily. This is taking that standard, like what we've seen as like Luke and Wedge, but then essentially splits that wedge into Aaron Kraken and Arvel in the A-Wing to get a 5-ship list there. Very cool. I love, you know me, I'm a lock fanatic. So all these lock mechanics and munitions makes complete sense to me.
All right, and for our final shout-outs for the Spain event, Angel Espencaro had a Django Grievous plus droids list, and Ruben Barrio had a resistance list that doesn't have a Rey or a Poe or a Chewbacca in it. We got Kaz, Kai, Wilsa, Shaza, Finn, and Lega. This is a Y-Wing list plus friends. But we do have a Finn because Finn must be there, right? Predator, heroic, perceptive, co-pilot. Now, friends, we've gone through 3 tournaments so far. In the top cut, we have mentioned Rebels, Imperials, Republic, Resistance.
There's been Scum.
We're missing First Order.
Did everybody just get bored of the bombers? They get bored?
I think legitimately, they're still really good. They just
I think it's boredom.
Try other stuff.
It's an S tier list, so I think it's just boredom. I think people just don't want to fly it.
Right, because we're gonna get through the top 8 of Mustafar, and there's no First Order here either. I don't think.
Yeah, there were.
Or was there? All right, maybe it's different First Order. Anyway, we'll take.
It was all the quick draw plus stuff, I think.
Oh yeah,
there was. We are going through some events and only doing certain amounts of the cuts. So
true.
If you look through, there may actually be First Order that made cuts in some of them, but as per the top level cuts are like half the cut that we're looking at. Yeah, we haven't talked about any First Order yet.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and move on to Mustafar. Again, our final Galactic Qualifier, the Galactic Championship finale, happening October 22nd, that weekend. So make sure to watch your email for instructions on how to buy your ticket, those of you who qualified. All right, so we start with the champion, Andrew Oler, and a resistance list. Ryan, go ahead, take this one as our resistance connoisseur.
So this is an archetype we haven't seen a lot of, if at all, really. We have a 6-ship, and it's utilizing all 3 of the Y-Wings. All of them with, just making sure. Nope, not, all right, I have to go with them individually now. Never mind. Normal Wilsa. We'll go with that one at least. This is the traditional Wilsa. It's got Larry, it's got the bomblet generator, it's got ion cannon turret. It's all there. We have Kai Threnali running very unique. It's got belly run, dorsal, not ion cannon, R5X3, 2 charges, to which either in the engagement phase, in the activation phase or engagement phase, you may spend a charge to ignore obstacles. So each charge is for a phase, not a round. It's very different from collision detector in that regard. Proton bomb, not torpedo, engine upgrade targeting computer. Shaza is a little more normal in the fact that there's no astromech, just belly run, and then proton bomb, engine upgrade targeting computer, and ion cannon turret. Very interested to see how that R5X3 probably gets Kai Threnali the ability to just get through and go to other obstacles and unexpected things that people won't be able to expect you to do. And with Tirfan Bellyrum, actually gives Andrew the option in the engagement phase, if he's sitting on a rock, to say, if I'm going to shoot with my dorsal turret anyway, I don't need to spend the other charge to be able to shoot if I'm going to be using a secondary turret weapon anyway. And then you have BB-8 with Chewbacca crew in Resistance, which starts with a charge face down, and the charge flips face up when a friendly ship takes a damage. Certain range restrictions may apply, and you may spend the charge to convert an eyeball to a crit. This is all from memory. Sure, how close was I? Pod, BB-8, Chewbacca.
Yeah, I about
Set
to
up loose
crit.
charge. Friendly ship range 0-3 is dealt damage card. Recover charge. Perform an attack. You may spend 2 charges. Okay, so you lose 1 charge. It means you have 1 available, but you need to spend 2. Change an eyebrow result to crit. So that was close-ish. And then we also have Finn, Predator, Heroic, Perceptive Co-Pilot. You have 6 points off of that. Rounding that all out, that's 6 points still left after that. You get Commander Poe with Heroic, Crackshot, R4, Astromech, and Proton torpedoes. Looking at some numbers I was able to pull earlier today from Chris's very helpful data collecting, Chris Allen specifically. Commander Poe is actually performing better than Trigger Happy Poe. Granted, Commander Poe has less overall showings in popularity, but is performing at a higher rate than Trigger Happy Poe. What I'm curious about, because I've yet to try Commander Poe myself. I don't know yet, when people have played him very effectively, how often he only using his ability for himself. And I mean, I assume at least on the torpedo turns, he's using his ability on himself. But outside of that, how often is his ability being used for a friendly ship?
From what we've seen on stream, he's normally using it for himself. He's doing normal Poe things. He's just only doing it every other turn. And what we're seeing is you still have the linked action, right? Is it barrel roll into focus? Is that the
Focus
order?
into barrel roll.
Focus into barrel roll.
Foils, yes.
Like, you can still do double actions as needed, but turns out doing that at I6, it's still very good every other turn.
Yeah.
And I think it all depends on what your wingmates are. If your wingmates are throwing not that much, if in this particular case, what we're seeing, your wingmates are not doing a whole lot in terms of offensive output, maybe not so much. But if you're putting him with, I played against another version of the same 6-point Poe at one of the other tournaments, and he had a couple T-70s out there, and he tossed that over to the T-70s that were going to be in the scrum a little bit more than he was sometimes. So I guess it's situational, but it gives you that option, which is good.
Awesome. All right, let's keep it going. Well, speaking of Marcel Manzano, our runner-up for the Mustafar Galactic Qualifier, Marcel, tell us about this monstrosity you brought to Mustafar.
He couldn't even win a tournament.
Such a scrub.
Yeah, I agree. I concur. So this one, I went through a lot of different versions. I actually took a version of it to Nova. I don't even know if you can call it a version of it. I took a 7-ship list to Nova and have been tweaking it with just trying different things and getting different people's feedback on it. And this is what I landed at. So I landed at Countdown with Ruthless, Crackshot, and Tiber Saxon. And Countdown is basically there either to he's there as he's there as my Vader in a way. He's there as my just.
What do you mean? What do you mean as in your Vader? Like you're talking about
flanking
Vader
on
crew?
the other side, either is going to put out damage or it's going to draw attention. Is going to suck up some points. Something happened. Basically, the only way that you're going to damage him is if you're focusing multiple guns at him in a single turn. So you have to in order to kill him within a reasonable amount of time, you have to dedicate multiple guns at him in the same turn, and they have to land. So it's a distraction. And he's out doing his own thing without and able to put out damage. I mean, he's still got a 3-die gun and Crackshot and Ruthless, so he's got the potential to put out damage. But it takes attention away from the 6 ships that nobody wants to joust. Nobody wants to joust 6 TIE fighters. So it allows me time to do whatever I want in terms of getting objective points, getting the correct setup. If they put, a lot of people play with the asteroid field to kind of disrupt the formation. It allows me to kind of just fly around it at leisure, because most
Have those couple of
people,
turns to adjust.
yeah, and if they decide to go after the TIE Swarm, then 1, you're wrong. Don't joust the TIE Swarm. And 2, it gives Countdown the ability to come in at the flank, and with the boost into like a 3 bank, he can get back into the fight pretty quickly. If you ignore Countdown, he's going to be in the fight in 1 or 2 turns anyway. So that's what I meant. So then I've got Iden with no ion cannon, ruthless, elusive, jamming beam because it's free, cluster missiles, and targeting computer. Moff Gideon with ruthless, threat tracers, and false transponder codes. Gideon Hask with the same loadout as Iden, ruthless, elusive, cluster missiles, and targeting computer. Del Meeko with elusive and heavy laser cannon, and then 2 Jingos with false transponder codes.
Quick question here. Yeah. So the targeting computers, how often did you actually use those? I know we didn't see you use them. You ended up getting your locks each time.
No, even in the match against the Republic, Iden, to get because Iden had Obi-Wan target locked, in order to get the 3 attacks on the Lat and then follow up 3 attacks on Anakin, I did the target lock action, and that same turn, Gideon Hask also did a target lock action on Lat, because his target lock was on. Actually, it was on nobody. He was outside when the threat tracers came out. He was outside the range 3. So I target locked the Lat, which helped me kill the Lat. That turn with 2 ships. So I used it pretty often. I used it pretty regularly, because and there were other situations where, even in the final, Gideon Hask target locked BB-8 as an action, because I thought I wasn't going to get shot. So it's useful. And also it's free. I mean, what else am I going to use? Ruthless is, I'm not going to go Predator. I needed Ruthless.
Right.
So what else am I going to get from 1 point? So.
All right. Well, let's keep it moving here. Speaking of FO, but not playing FO, we have Christopher Crispy Patrick. Take it, Will.
All right. So this is a Separatist list. Has Jango, General Grievous, and Pre Vizsla. Jango has Trick Shot, Jamming Beam, Chaff Missiles, Savazzo Press for that Force Point, Contraband Cybernetics, False Transponder Codes, Slave 1, and Veteran Tail Gunner. The Jango able to carry those chaffed missiles, allows it to joust more ships than it would normally be able to, plus the ability to launch and then turn away from your own chaff cloud and shoot through it with Trick Shot has extreme value as well. The General Grievous, pretty standard loadout here with Outmaneuver, Impervium Plating, and Solus 1. But the real standout here is Pre Vizsla in the Gauntlet. Pre Vizsla looks for ships with initiative equal to or higher than their 3. And every other turn, when you attack that kind of ship, you can spend both your charges to get an extra attack dice. That means could be 5 dice out the front, range 1, or could just be utilizing the 2 dice rear arc and making it 3 attack dice as well. This has marksmanship, Bo-Katan Kryze for some range 0 to 1 rerolls on offense. The Death Watch Commandos, Veteran Tail Gunner, Drop Seat Bay for those commandos, and the Swivel Wing. So this is the second instance that we've seen a gauntlet that brings the commandos. I think very early on, that was kind of my thinking of like, once you get to this certain points, this previous was 7, Maul's 9, that your 3 dice gun just isn't enough, which I think is interesting here for Pre-Vizsla. You do have the front and rear arc attacks. You do have an extra dice that you can throw around as well. But those commandos are, I think, so important to hand out those strains to make sure your shots count. Plus, they give you 4 attacks as well throughout the game. Could be very valuable. Again, we see them utilized best in a 3-ship list to combat some of that weaknesses of like focus firing, a ship down. They still shoot 3 dice with a single focus mod. I mean, that's as good as most vultures out there. And you can get them for what, 7 loadout or so now. I think it is a valuable piece if you want to be investing in these big gauntlets.
All right. For the top 4, we had Paul Heaver with a resistance list. His flavors were Ray in that Scavenge YT1300 with Notorious instead of the more common heroic version, but we got Notorious, Rose Tico, Finn, Deadman Switch, Engine Upgrade, and Ray's Millennium Falcon. So Ray obviously is consistently targeted, so there's very good chances that she is able to take advantage of that strain token that Notorious gives, whether that's with a reroll and or being able to reduce the agility of an enemy by 1. We also got Kaz with Outmaneuver, Deadman Switch, and Kaz's Fireball. Obviously, Kaz able to get around the field very easily. If anybody can set up an outmaneuver, it's Kaz. Then we have Poe Dameron. This is also Trigger Happy Flyboy. No, this is Commander Poe, excuse me. The orange one with outmaneuver as well. R4 Astromech, Overdrive Thrusters, and Integrated S-Foils. Outmaneuver, obviously being absolutely fantastic. You can't chaff an outmaneuver. It's not dependent on target locks. Obviously, you want to be throwing modified attacks. But if you can consistently get that outmaneuver or set up situations where your opponent has to choose whether to get outmaneuvered by Poe or by Kaz, you're setting up some difficult situations. And then to round out the list, the 2-pointer Extraordinaire BB-8 with automated target priority, and Han Solo. This is the Han Solo that gives you a red evade action on your action bar. And what's the ability, guys, for that Han Solo? I don't remember it off the top of my head.
You get multiple evades for ships at range 0 to 1.
Specifically, enemy ships.
Enemy ships, yes.
After you perform a red evade, gain additional evade tokens equal to the number of enemy ships. So you're already getting 1 by taking the evade action. So it's like Bay's Malbus. You get more,
yes,
but oddly no limitation for this one, whereas there's a limitation for Bay's.
No.
Yeah, I guess in theory you could get 9 evades if you somehow found yourself against a full swarm.
What about an epic?
Wow, jeez.
I mean, we want to talk about an objective getter. Just go to an assault zone and be there and evade, or go carry this crate somewhere. I'm just gonna evade.
I mean, two evades got to be better than a single calculate for BB-8, right? Like, so it seems to make a lot of sense in that aspect.
All right, let's keep it going with place 5, our first instance of First Order coming in from Charles Holcomb. Take it, Ryan.
Not a very common First Order list either in terms of the pilots we see. We start with actually Quick Draw. Proud Tradition, Elusive, Pattern Analyzing, Special Forces Gunner, Fire Control System, and Shield Upgrade. I think that's the suite of upgrades we see on quick draw, or we probably would see quick draw on the most, other than maybe swapping one of the talents for afterburners instead of shield upgrade, but opting for just the here's an extra shield, here's an extra potential health of quick draw's shield pool to use the ability to shoot twice in a turn. Then you have Captain Phasma on the TIE SF, with also Proud Tradition, Fire Control System, Pattern Analyzer, and Special Forces Gunner. I'll say Captain Phasma is one of those ships that's sneaky good in salvage. Carry the crate. Other people around me can take the crits. I will continue to carry this crate. You can't stop me. La la la. Backdraft, Proud Tradition, Advanced Optics, and Special Forces Gunner. And then Static with Elusive and Ion Cannon. And then finally a familiar First Order sighting with Scorch with Fanatical, Elusive, and Advanced Optics. So just a bunch of ships that look like regular TIE fighters, 3 of them that look a little more special than the other ones, and just chucking 3 dice attacks, 5 of them. One of them happens to just be an ion cannon, but they're all can be 3 dice at range 2 to 3 and 4 dice at range 1. I'm just gonna hit you really hard. It kind of has like a 5x feel to it, except a lot more tricks. There's an AC or just a really jousty, dangerous quick draw. There's a durable Phasma. There's the dangerous front and back backdraft, and then you got 2 ships that have 3 agility that are not easy to take down with. Definitely with Static with Elusive, but Scorch being very well modded, but then opting for Elusive instead of Predator, which I think when you have Advanced Optics and Fanatical, that probably ends up working out all right.
We did have another First Order squad, and our first appearance of a TIE FO bomber. Take it, Marcel.
So we've got Kylo and the Silencer with Extreme Maneuvers, Center Scramblers, and Advanced Proton Torpedo. So this is Silencer, not the other one.
By the way, this is Andre Paris.
Yes. And it's with Commander Maul, Marksmanship, and Cluster Missiles, Scorch, Shield Upgrade, Static, Proud Tradition, and Ion Cannon. And then you have Grudge with Elusive, Electroshaft Missiles, Skilled Bombardier, Proximity Mines, and Delayed fuses. So it's very similar to the list that we've been seeing, but downgraded the second bomber to Static in order to upgrade Kylo to the Silencer Kylo. I think that's the only change, right? And went with the shield upgrade instead of the optics on Scorch, which a lot of people tend to do.
All right. Next, we have Michael Shively with the Separatist list. Will?
All right. He has brought Jango Fett, Zam Whistle, and the Separatist Hyena Bomber. That Jango's got Treacherous, Palpatine, Proton Bombs, Contraband, Delayed Fuses, Slave One, and Veteran Tail Gunner. With Zam having the notorious Count Dooku, Seismic Charges, and Contraband. Then that 3-point Hyena is utilizing Electro Shaft Missiles, Independent Calculations, and Landing Struts. So taking a play out of the old 200-point double fire sprays, but this time you get to bring a chaff throwing Hyena. Which could be great in assault as well. Even some of these other action-orientated objectives where the fire sprays don't want to spend the action, say pick up a crate or scramble. You have that little Hyena to do those jobs for you. But yeah, the classic throwback double fire spray here with the force points and the double taps, whether Jango's going front to back or Zam Wessel's doing it through her conditions.
And our final top 8 list comes from Doug Howe, flying a little bit similar of a list that we talked about earlier with a twist. We got Darth Vader, but in the TIE Advanced X1, with Shattering Shot, Trick Shot, Pattern Analyzer, Collision Detector. We got 2 Jingos with Overtune Modulators, Vizier with Emperor Palpatine, and then 7 Sister in the TIE Advanced V1 with Brilliant Evasion, Elusive, Predator, and Prockets. So pretty solid list there. I think ended up losing in well, obviously in the top 8, but a great run by Doug Howe with a combination of ships that I wouldn't have expected. That TIE X1 and the TIE Advance from Seven Sister, or the TIE V1 with Seven Sister in there. It's something that we really haven't seen. Having that ability to spend 2 force to negate and evade, very powerful. Does that work on primary and special attacks, or is that only primary attacks, or it doesn't matter?
I believe it's primary only.
But either way, very good.
Seven Sister is primary, yes.
All right. So you got. Do you want this problem, this proton rocket, or do you want Predator and her ability? Right. You have a couple of choices there. So with that does bring us to the end of our absolute gauntlet of going through.
I want to do one more list that's in here somewhere. I don't know who it is, but it's a list that is very interesting. I think you had it on stream, and I played against it on Saturday. It's a 8-ship TIE swarm.
You're talking about the Discipline Blacks.
Yeah, the Discipline Blacks.
Anthony Marchand.
Yeah.
So two slots under Doug Howe.
Yep.
There you go. So this was I thought a very you can play around with Vizier and Captain Pharaoh's. Well, actually, not with Vizier. You can play around with Captain Pharaoh's loadout, but I think the Ruthless Child and Targeting Computer makes them really tough. So essentially, with this, you've got 2 Reapers that have a lot of health, 6 TIE Fighters, and then on top of that, you add the Super Commandos to throw 2 more 2-die guns at range 1 and 2, and essentially you have 10 firing arcs pointing at you and covering every angle. And on top of that, every time you kill one of them, you get the target locks and the barrel rolls. Plus, you're working very hard for a lot of different 2 points. And if you want to get that 4 point from Vizier or Captain Pharaoh, I just thought it's a monstrosity of a list as well. It's just probably part of the reason why a lot of us feel that the generics, instead of being costed at a ridiculously unplayable format, should probably just be pipped. To avoid stuff like this where you just spam something that's super cheap and super efficient and end up with 10 guns on the field. And it's not double taps, it's 10 literal guns on the mat. So it's
there's a difference in line of thought. This person, Anthony, likes having a bunch of small guns. You like a small amount of big guns, though.
Well, yeah, I was still shooting 9 times a turn, not 10. So, but double modded, 3 and 4 dice at a time. But still, just even that, I played against them, and with the list that I flew, and they won.
Wait, you faced him with your?
Yeah, we had.
Wow!
Oh my God! There's so many things on the board.
We had 15 ships on the board.
Too many things.
So,
oh my Lord.
I was able, with my list, to kill in 1 turn from full health to dead a double reinforced Monarchy, and I was able to kill from, again, full health to dead a double reinforced Bosk. When I played against this, I was only able to kill 2 TIE Fighters with that same offensive output. So we went from knocking out 7 or 8 point ships that are basically like 30-40% of their damage output, to me killing 2 ships, and in doing so getting punished because now everybody got target locks on me and was able to do double modded attacks back at me
It's
as
also
well.
got to be like the math between, like, sure, it's reinforced and they're lessening the damage, right? But damage is still going through, and you have enough numbers to where it's going to stack up.
Well, I was double
Versus-
jamming the reinforce. So their double reinforces were being 0 reinforces with multiple tracer.
Oh, so they didn't even have the reinforce.
No, yeah. So
Oh, well.
Yeah, tracers and false transponder
That's an even more
codes.
different story. That, like, because otherwise your 2 dice, if they're going into TIE fighters, like there's a solid amount of attacks that could just be like they don't do anything because they just evade it.
they shrug them off. Yeah, they like, oh, I rolled 2, 3. I rolled 3 dice.
Chat. Someone in chat had a good question. How many rounds did you get in that game against this list?
I mean, I assume after 2 rounds of combat, a lot of ships were destroyed.
No, fuck.
Kind of I mean, it was very basic maneuvers on both ends. So I think we got like 6-7 rounds. And he won.
He got it.
That was my Swiss loss, yeah.
All right. Well, pretty cool. Pretty cool to see. When we saw it on stream, we were like, "Wait, what? What are generics? Why? They're in this game? Are you crazy?"
Sir, they're called non-limiteds, all right? That's what they identify as.
Not in my book.
Okay.
right.
Generic is a
I
slanderous
guess I was
term.
muted, they're saying.
Just for a second there, I clicked the button. You're good. You're fine. All right. So, again, thank you to all the players who played this weekend and to all the TOs organizing that information so that we could take a look at it. I mean, I think we saw a little bit of every faction, right? I think First Order probably had the lowest representation out of everything, maybe tied with Rebels. Rebels trying to find their way. We still saw X-Wings out there on the table for Rebels in Europe, and some people starting to experiment with that Ghost. I know that it didn't make our top 8 cut, but that is that. Now, before we head out, I do want to address first-time caller asking any tabletop.to info this week. So I'll make the same update that I made. I did make it, I believe, on Discord. But essentially, the owner of tabletop.to has decided they do not want to sell. Or at least that our price that we gave wasn't enough, and it's going to be sunset. So tabletop.to is for sure going away. And I do know of at least 3 different projects that are happening and actively being worked on to be replacements of some kind. And they're in a bit of an arms race to basically see who gets critical mass in the community first. They're being worked on. One that does exist right now is Longshanks. I personally have not used it yet, and planning on dabbling with it and seeing what powerful tools exist there to see if it floats my boat and meets my expectation. I'm personally involved in 2 different projects that are being worked on. One that was the previous Save TTT team, and then also Brian Gamble from Co-op Print Yards is working on his own as well. So, yeah, we'll be doing that, and that is that. So, but yeah, everybody, thank you all for a wonderful weekend of XWing, and we're coming up on I know I have a long weekend, but I will be traveling this weekend, not for XWing, for different other work in a strange twist of events. So we have to wait and see what Monday night ends up looking like. But coming up very quickly on that Galactic Championship. And on that note, friends, we have the Galactic Championship, and it probably will end up being one of the last big events with our current points. Is there anything out there in the meta that we haven't seen yet? Anything that you think I've been the appearance of that pre-Vizsla shook me. I was shook. I was like, what? You played what and did so well? Yeah, like again.
There were other gauntlets too that made cut. I mean, there was that one, then there was the scum one. I played it. I think it was a top 16 match. I played it, but it was the Camry. Camry flew a very hard to kill Boba. I don't know, some gauntlet plus cannon.
Probably Rook cast if it's not Maul.
Probably. So I mean, there were, and then in the other tournament we saw Maul. So there were gauntlets out there. So I'm pretty sure that there's stuff that we haven't seen, and also combination of things that we have seen, value pieces put together in a different way. So it's kind of like a plug and play, like a little bit of Tetris going on. Like I got 6 points, and these are 4 different things that are good value picks at 6 points, and just mix and match. So, but,
all right, we'll have to wait and see. I'm excited. What I want to do, not this week, but the week before the Galactic Championship, we got to make some bold predictions. So for those of you at home, I want you to start thinking of what are some bold predictions you would have for the Galactic Championship finale. 5 qualifiers worth of events over 5 months. A lot of X-Wing has been played, and we will crown a champion very, very soon. Any shout outs or anything you guys want to do before we head out for the night, my friends?
No, just shout out to everyone that I played, and I'm pretty sure Ryan will say the same for everybody he played. It was, there was not a single bad experience with win or lose on any of the matches that I played against. I had a great time in all the matches, and hopefully my opponents did as well.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, go ahead, Brian.
Shout out to the crew who helped run the Michigan GT, everyone who showed up to play. It was fun. It was good to see everyone. All my games were very enjoyable. I even got to play a very young gentleman, couldn't be older than 12, just enjoying his time playing X-Wing, flying a couple of Inquisitors, Wampa, and Gauntlet, Imperial. So he was just having the time of his life and enjoying playing some X-Wing.
Love it. All right, everybody. Well, hopefully you had a good time hanging out with us, learning about some lists, deciding maybe what is it that you want to try on the table. Maybe you want to start countering. Maybe you are secretly planning in your X-Wing brain for what you're going to bring to the Galactic Championship finale, and you plan on taking it all the way. Be smart and be safe. Gold Squadron.